Now this is a well-known one when discussing deadly fashion trends. After all, the whole phrase "mad as a hatter" came from the Victorian era. With the extravagance and intricacies of elaborate outfits in that time, you also needed to accessorize. That meant wearing a fancy-ass hat on your fancy-ass head. So the hat business was brimming with eager customers. You had tall hats, small hats, even sailor straw hats, sun hats, wide hats, flowered hats, and side hats. Some hats for him, some hats for her. Hats stacked with feathers and even ones with fur. There were endless choices for a fashionable head. It's just a shame that many of their makers were gonna wind up dead. The art of hat making was tedious and dangerous, not just because of needles and such, but the chemical processes involved. Yeah, nothing was really safe from harsh chemicals in those days. One of the most common materials used to make hats was felt. If you're unaware, felt is basically fibers matted together and compressed into a single material. In order to do this reliably and quickly in the 1800s, a process called kerating was performed. Animal pelts, usually beaver or rabbit, would be saturated in a mercuric nitrate solution. This allowed the fibers to separate from the hides and make them more pliable and more easily formed into the sheets of felt. This process also turned the furs a dark orange color, hence the name kerating. Ooh, pretty. If you are a frequent watcher of my stuff, which you should be, you know that I've gone into detail about mercury poisoning before, but let's refresh. Mercury vapors from the kerating process were, obviously, very toxic. This excessive, prolonged exposure subjected victims to mercury poisoning, which can evolve into a neurological disorder known as erethism, or the Mad Hatter's disease. It's characterized by personality, physical, and neurological symptoms ranging from low self-confidence, depression, and irritability to delirium, headaches, and uncontrollable shakiness or tremors. It's an exhausting and devastating disorder, and it's sadly way more common than people realize. According to a publication by the American Journal of Industrial Medicine, between 15 to 50% of hatters surveyed in the armpit that is New Jersey showed symptoms of mercury poisoning in 1886, increasing to 60% by 1889 and hitting an apex in 1934 at around 80%. As a double whammy, many of the more ornate hats at the time donned artificial flowers, most of which were dusted with the arsenical Sheila's green. Now, while the dust certainly affected the customers, there's actually very few, if any, reported cases of mercury poisoning resulting from simply wearing the hats. This is because the harmful vapors were either fully baked off in the manufacturing process or essentially sealed within the material, unable to affect the end user. While the adverse health effects of mercury poisoning were well known at the time, it actually wasn't until 1941 that mercury usage was banned in hat manufacturing, and it wasn't even out of medical concern. You see, mercury was a key component in artillery detonators, so the Allies needed all of the mercury they could get to drop some freedom on the Nazis in World War II. As for the UK, however, mercury usage in hat making was never formally banned. It just fell out of favor once safer chemicals like hydrogen peroxide were substituted in around the 1960s. Nice one, gents.